The knock came soft and fast. 3 taps, a pause, then one more. Del Hawkins didn't move at first, just stood in his kitchen, hand on the mug that had gone cold hours ago. He waited, like the knock might vanish if he ignored it. It came again. Same rhythm, quiet but certain. He opened the door. She was barefoot, feet red and raw, heels split. A dress clung to her like it hadn't been washed in weeks. The hem was stiff with dried blood, not hers by the look of her. She stood straight. Her mouth was closed, but a sound came from her throat, a humming. High, office, almost sweet. Del stared. "What the hell happened to you?" "I sang," she said, like she told me to. "Who told you?" "My grandma." Her voice was soft but clear. The wood polisher. The hum came back, louder now. She looked past him into the house. "What's your name?" She didn't blink. "Clara Wynne." That name hadn't been said in this town in over a decade. Del stepped back without thinking. Let her walk in. She moved like she belonged there. "You sit down," he said, grabbing the phone. "You need a doctor." She sat at the edge of the old couch, knees together, hands folded on her lap. Still humming, not looking at anything in particular, just staring at the wood floor like she could see through it. Del turned his back and called Janie. "Doctor, you need to come over. Now." He hung up and looked back. Clara hadn't moved. "You got family here." She shook her head once. "Where have you been?" She didn't answer. "You want to tell me whose blood that is?" Still nothing. Just the hum. A broken little tune with no start, no end. 10 minutes later, Janie showed up. Big coat over her nightshirt, hair pulled up quick, wrong shoe on the left foot. "What's the story?" she asked as she stepped inside. "You remember Madge Wynne?" "Course. This here's her granddaughter." Janie froze halfway across the room. "Madge's people all gone." "Not all," Del said. Janie knelt. "Sweetheart, what's your name?" "Clara. You hurt?" "No." "You know where you are?" "I'm in the sheriff's house, sitting on a green couch with a crack in the cushion." She wasn't wrong. Janie nodded, opened her bag, checked her vitals, touched her feet. "These are bad," Janie murmured. She walked a long way. "Walked from where?" Del asked. Janie glanced up. "Your guess is as good as mine." They cleaned her feet in silence. Clara didn't flinch, didn't cry, just kept humming. Janie wrapped them in soft gauze. "We'll keep it loose tonight. Let him breathe." Del brought her water. She held the glass but didn't drink. "You hungry?" he asked. "No." "You got somewhere you're supposed to be?" She stared at him. Her eyes weren't scared, just hollow. "Too old. I was supposed to come here. That's what she said." "Who?" "My grandma. Madge been dead 15 years. She talks to me anyway." Janie looked at Del. Del didn't look back. The hum got louder. "What is that song?" Janie asked. "It's a wedding song," Clara said. "She used to sing it when she polished the wood, before the governor came." That stopped the room. Del's jaw set. "What governor?" But Clara was humming again, louder. The tune cut through the house like something born in the walls. "You want to stay here tonight?" Del asked. Clara nodded once. "You tell me if you remember anything, where you came from, what happened." "I remember everything," she said, "but some of it ain't mine." Del didn't ask what she meant. The night stretched out. Janie left just before midnight. Del gave Clara the guest room. She sat on the bed and asked for a bucket of warm water. He brought it without question. She dipped her fingers in and started rubbing the wood bedpost in circles. No words, no noise now. Just polishing, slow and steady. Del sat on the porch, lit a cigarette he'd quit 3 years ago. The stars were out, sharp and close. Next morning, the phone started. First Tully from the feed store. "You hear? Wynne girl's back." Then Leota from the diner. "Saw that girl in town, no shoes, humming like a ghost." Then Fred, head of the water board. "You gonna tell us if she's dangerous?" Del said nothing. By noon, the town buzzed like a hive cracked open. Janie called from the clinic. "You need to bring her in." "She won't go," Del said. "She say anything else?" Said her grandma talks to her. Said she sang like she was told. Said the blood ain't hers. "She say whose it is?" Del looked at the door. Clara was inside, still humming. "No," he said. "Not yet." That night, she cleaned the baseboards with an old rag she found in the laundry room. "You don't have to do that," Del told her. "She said keep the house clean," Clara replied. "Whose house?" Whichever one I'm in. Dell nodded, lit another cigarette, sat back down. Outside, the wind picked up. It carried the last notes of that song out across the fields, a wedding tune, forgotten by most, not by her. The road out to the Wynn property was mostly dust now. What used to be gravel had sunk into soft clay. Dell hadn't driven it in years. Not since the fire. Not since the woods closed in like they wanted the land to vanish. Clara sat beside him, still barefoot, one arm around her knees like she didn't trust the seatbelt. She hadn't said a word since they left town. "You sure it's out this way?" Dell asked. Clara nodded without looking. "Nothing left out here, just ash and snakes." "She ain't ash," Clara said. "She's waiting." The truck hit a rut. Clara didn't flinch. Her eyes tracked the trees. When the chimney came into view, the only thing still standing. She sat up straighter. Dell slowed. Grass had grown over the driveway. He parked near what used to be the front porch. The steps were gone. Just stone teeth now. The rest of the house had collapsed into itself. Black beams curled like old ribs. "She lived here?" Dell asked. "She died here," Clara said. "But she didn't leave." Clara stepped out and walked through the weeds barefoot, like she'd done it 100 times. She moved past the ruins without pausing. Behind the house, the ground dipped down, choked with vines. The well sat at the center, stones cracked, bucket gone, rope frayed and curled like a dead snake. Dell followed slower. His boots sank in mud. "You came all the way out here for that?" he asked. Clara stood at the edge, looked down. Her hum started again, quiet. "Don't get too close," Dell warned. "She's still in there," Clara said. "You don't hear her?" Dell stepped beside her, looked down, nothing but shadow. "Hear what?" Clara tilted her head. "The singing." The wind shifted. A low sound rose from the well. Might have been the trees. Might have been something else. Dell stepped back. "You said this place burned. How long ago?" 15 years. "You were how old?" 4. "You remember it?" "Not all, just the smell." And her voice. Dell looked around. The yard was too quiet. "She used to polish the furniture out here," Clara said. "Wouldn't do it inside. Said cedar's a proud wood. Needed open air." Dell glanced at the well again. "She tell you stories?" Clara nodded. "Said the land used to swallow women. Men would bury 'em in cornfields, or wells, or behind barns. Said they'd never stay gone, though. Said the land don't forget." "You believe her?" "I don't have to. I heard 'em too." Dell crouched near the edge, picked up a chunk of wood, charred, brittle. "This all happened before my time in the badge." "She didn't like sheriffs," Clara said. "Why not?" "They knew. Never stopped it." Dell stood, brushed his hands. "We should head back. She don't like being left alone." "She's not here, Clara. She's more here than we are." Dell didn't argue. The hum had changed. Lower now, like it echoed. Clara stepped closer to the well. She used to sing when she polished, always the same song. I never knew it had words till I woke up one night and she was whispering it over my bed. Dell watched her carefully. "What did she say?" "She said if I ever heard it coming from the well, I'd have to answer, even if I didn't want to." The wind dropped. "You answering it now?" Dell asked. Clara looked at him. "I already did." Dell touched his belt, where his badge hung heavy. The silence stretched. "She ever talk about the governor?" he asked. Clara didn't blink. "She said men like him were never buried deep enough." The sun dropped behind the trees. Shadows thickened. Dell stepped back. "We need to go." Clara stayed at the well. "Clara?" "She's listening." "I'm not leaving you out here." "She said you'd try to pull me away." Dell reached out, gently. "Come on now." Clara looked at the sky. Her eyes were glassy. She said not to be afraid of the dark, just of what's still singing in it. Dell took her arm. She came with him. The hum faded as they walked back to the truck. Inside, Clara didn't speak, just pressed her forehead to the window. Dell drove in silence. The road back felt longer. "You believe in curses?" Clara asked. "No." "Then you ain't been here long enough." Back in town, the streetlights flickered on. People watched them drive in. Dell parked behind the station. Clara got out, slower now. "You gonna lock me up?" she asked. "No." "Then where are you putting me?" "Somewhere quiet." He walked her into the back office, set her up on the old cot, brought her a blanket. She lay down, eyes open. "Why me?" Dell asked. Clara stared at the ceiling. "She said you were the last one who hadn't earned it." Earned what? The knock. Outside, the wind picked up again. In the distance, faint and high, something like a hum came through the trees. Dell shut the door, sat in his chair, kept the lights off. Something was wrong with that land. And with her. But he couldn't shake the feeling that whatever was in that well wasn't done singing. Not yet. The bones came up slow, rope frayed, pulley squealing like it hadn't moved in years. Rome stood back from the edge, hands slick, face pale. The bucket was a cattle trough strung with chains. The smell hit first, then the shape, bent, folded wrong. Bone and rot soaked into earth mud. Dell didn't flinch. Jesus, Rome muttered, that's a whole man. Dell crouched beside it, watched the water drip off the skull. Mud fell away in clumps. Then the sun hit it, top jaw, left side, a flash of gold. Rome saw it too. What the hell? Dell leaned in. There it was, still fixed to the bone, fused to the upper molars. Ornate, worn, governor's seal etched right into the plate. Holy shit, Rome said. You know who that is. Dell stood slow. Yeah. Rome waited. But I ain't ready to say it. They stared at the remains a long minute. Buzzards circled high above. Dell pointed. Get a tarp. Nobody sees this but us. Not yet. You want the coroner? Not from here. Call somebody from over the ridge. Quiet. Rome hesitated. We really found him, huh? Dell didn't answer. He looked toward the house, or what was left of it. Clara sat cross-legged on a blackened beam, her face turned toward the woods. She wasn't humming. She wasn't looking either. Just listening. Dell walked back to her. That body's been down there a long time, he said. Clara nodded. You know who it is? Yes. You ever see him before? I saw what he did. Dell crouched. You mean to your grandma? Clara looked at him. To all of us. Dell stood again. We'll need to talk more. Clara didn't blink. I already did. Back at the station, Dell locked the door behind them. He unrolled the tarp in the back garage. The body lay curled like it had tried to fight the fall, or the burial. Janie came after sunset. Didn't ask questions. Just pulled on gloves. Tell me you're joking, she said. Dell didn't. Janie stepped closer, looked at the jaw. That's real. Real enough. Janie backed up. You know what this means? Dell lit a cigarette. Means I need to be real careful. By morning, word was out. First came the pastor's wife. You're not actually poking that old wound, are you? Then the county clerk. He'd left on his own, remember? No note, no trace. Then two men Dell didn't recognize. Black truck, out-of-town plates. Said nothing, just parked near the diner and watched. Rome came in just before noon, face red. You need to see this. They walked outside. Dell's truck had something new hanging off the antenna. A wreath. Cheap plastic flowers, ribbon too clean. Inside the loop, a folded note. Dell opened it. Drop it, or dig your own hole. Rome leaned in. You want to tell me how that got there? Nope. You still gonna push this? Dell looked past him. Across the street, Judge Brody stood under his awning, smoking and pretending not to watch. Dell turned back. We're just getting started. Rome stepped back. You tell Clara yet? No. She already knows, doesn't she? Dell didn't answer. He headed back inside. Clara was sitting at his desk. The ledger was open in front of her, the old county one, thick as a brick, dates fading off the spine. You break into my office? He asked. It was unlocked. Dell crossed his arms. What are you looking for? Proof she wasn't the first. You find any? Clara looked up. Not on paper, but paper lies anyway. Dell walked over, closed the book. You knew he was down that well? I knew somebody was. She told me to hum until somebody listened. She? My grandma. Or maybe the house. It's hard to tell the difference now. Dell sat. People are going to come asking. I know. They'll try to paint you crazy. Clara didn't flinch. Let them. I ain't the one with a body full of gold teeth at the bottom of a stolen well. Dell looked at her. Something hard in her now. Something earned. You scared? No, Clara said. But you should be. That night, Rome came back with a copy of the missing persons file, dated 20 years back. Last seen location, Wynn property. Purpose of visit, land dispute resolution. Dell read it twice. Dispute with who? Rome shrugged. Says unknown female resident. That'd be Madge. Dell leaned back. He came here to shut her up. Looks like he did. Till now. They sat quiet a while. The storm rolled in just before midnight. Rain hit the roof like pennies. Del stood at the window, smoking again. His hand shook just slightly. Across the room, Clara stood by the wall. She ran her fingers across the wooden trim, slow and steady, humming that same tune again. Low, steady, like she was polishing something invisible. Del turned. "You know they're going to try to bury this?" Clara didn't stop. "I won't let them." She looked at him. "You already let them once." He didn't argue. The lights flickered. The rain kept coming. Out in the lot, the wreath twisted in the wind, spinning like a warning. The box was tucked behind the water heater, wrapped in cloth gone stiff with time. Clara found it while Del was out back fixing the generator. She didn't call him, didn't say a word, just unwrapped it slow, sat cross-legged on the floor and lifted the lid. Inside, the brush was bone-handled, real bone, carved, worn smooth on the grip. Next to it, a corked bottle of cedar oil, dark as molasses, a folded square of singed cloth, no scent anymore. Just the memory of fire. She dipped the cloth in the oil. Just a corner. Rubbed it between her fingers. Then stood and walked to the far wall. The first stroke was silent. The second rang like a whisper. Del walked back in, brushing mud off his boots. Froze when he saw her. "What's that?" She didn't turn. "Her set." "Where'd you get it?" "She left it for me." Del stepped closer. "Clara." She said it had to be done right. In threes. "You don't have to do this." "I already started." She dipped again, rubbed a slow circle into the wood, eyes open but far off. The oil caught light from the desk lamp, made the wall look wet. Del watched. "She said 1 coat for truth," Clara said. 1 coat for mercy, 1 coat for fire." "What's that mean?" She didn't say. Del took a step back. Clara moved to the next panel, rubbed slower. The hum started under her breath again, but this time it wasn't a tune. It was a rhythm. Matched the brush, matched the room. The walls creaked. Could have been the house settling, or something else. Del crossed his arms. "Clara, you okay?" "She's showing me." "Showing you what?" Clara blinked. Her voice changed, softer, deeper. "He came at night, always after church. Said he had county business." Del didn't speak. "I was under the table. She told me to close my ears. But I heard the chair fall. I heard her fight. I heard his belt." Clara rubbed harder. She polished after, every time. Said it was the only thing that cleaned the air. The hum grew louder. The light flickered. Clara kept going. He called it settlement. Said women with land needed correction. Said no man could stand a woman with her name on the deed. She moved to the next wall. She made a deal. Gave up her claim. But he came back anyway. He wanted the girl too. Del stepped forward. "Clara, that wasn't you. I remember it. You weren't born. Doesn't matter." The air shifted. Cold now. Wood groaned behind the plaster. The scent of oil filled the room. Sharp, sweet, wrong. Clara whispered something. "What did you say?" "She told me to finish." Del looked down. The brush moved faster. The hum broke into words. Not English. Not anything he knew. "I need you to stop," he said. Clara didn't. "Clara?" She turned then. Slowly, eyes wide, voice flat. "She's not done." Del grabbed the cloth. "That's enough." Clara didn't fight, just watched. Del dropped the rag into the sink, ran water over it. Steam rose. Behind him, Clara sat on the floor, cross-legged, still. Del knelt. "Talk to me." She said I could carry it. Said I was built for it. Built for what? Clara looked at her hands. Memory. Del stood, paced once. "You ever feel like the floor remembers what happened on it?" Clara asked. "Like it don't creak 'cause it's old, but 'cause it wants you to know?" Del didn't answer. Clara looked around the room. "She bled right here." Del froze. "She didn't scream loud, just enough. Didn't want me to hear. But I did." He looked at the floor. "You think she's still in this house?" "She never left. She's in the wood, in the Polish." "Clara, that ain't how it works." "Maybe not for you." Del rubbed his jaw. Walked to the window. Rain started again. Soft taps against the glass. "You don't believe me," Clara said. "I don't know what I believe." "She said you'd say that." "Say what?" "That you didn't know." Del turned. "Clara, you're a girl. You've been through hell. I'm trying to help you. But this ritual, this talk about memory, It's not healing. She didn't want healing. She wanted witnesses. Dell stepped closer. To what? To what they took. To what they covered. He looked at the wall. 3 patches gleamed darker than the rest. She said the truth won't stay buried, not with girls like me walking free. The lights flickered again. Clara stood. She told me to keep going. Dell shook his head. Not tonight. She'll wait. She's patient. Clara walked past him, picked up the brush, held it in both hands. I'm not scared of ghosts, she said. Dell watched her leave the room. He stayed there, alone, looking at the wall. The polish was still wet, and for a second, he swore he could hear breathing inside the wood. The courthouse basement smelled like wet paper and regret. Janie pulled the chain light. Dust spun in the beam. Shelves lined the walls, everything yellow and half forgotten. She moved slow, gloved hand running over the metal drawers. Most were labeled clean. Deeds, tax rolls, water permits. The one she wanted had no label at all. She tugged it. Stuck. Second pull, it gave way with a loud scrape. Deep inside, beneath layers of brittle files, was a small steel lockbox. Dented. Marked in chalk. WF1. She carried it upstairs, breath tight. In her office, she cracked it open with bolt cutters. Lid popped like it wanted out. Inside, a black-bound ledger, handwritten, smelled like cedar and mold. She flipped the first page. Date, name, amount, signature. All women, column after column, every few months. All the same notation, Widow's Fund. Janie turned to the back. The names got familiar. Clara's mother, the wood polisher, her own aunt, Marion Beckett. She stared at the ink like it could undo time. Later, she drove straight to the station. Dell met her at the door. What's wrong? Where's Clara? Inside. Why? I found it. They moved fast. Clara sat on the floor, back against the wall, brush in her lap. Janie dropped the ledger in front of her. Clara stared at it. You recognize any of those names? Janie asked. All of them. You knew this existed? I didn't need to. It existed in us. Dell flipped through. These payments were bribes, Janie said. Every woman who spoke up, who got pregnant, who got threatened, paid off. Paid by who? Janie tapped the margin. See the initials. BVCBEV. Dell closed the book. Bishop Vance, Councilman Brody, Earl Mathers. Janie nodded. They bought silence with bad checks. Clara looked up. Not silence. Delay. Dell looked between them. What do you want to do? Janie didn't blink. Tell everyone. We need proof. That is proof. Clara stood. It's not law we need. It's memory. Dell exhaled. If we go public with this, they'll call us liars, Janie said. They'll say it was voluntary. Say the women were unstable. Clara's voice was low. They'll say they loved it. Janie clenched her jaw. Not this time. Dell turned to her. You sure you want to tie yourself to this? Janie didn't hesitate. My aunt tried to hang herself in 1982. Never said why. Now I know. He looked down at the book. You take this to the paper. You know what'll happen. They'll try to bury it again, Clara said. We stopped them, Janie said. Dell looked at Clara. You up for that? Clara nodded. It's not for me. Then who? All of them. That night, Janie sat at her kitchen table with a flashlight and a bottle. She read every line, 74 entries, payments as low as $20. Highest was $400 and a turkey. She circled one. Win. M. 1991, $75. EM. She wrote beside it, the last time. The next morning, Janie stood outside the church. She handed Dell a copy. He tucked it in his coat. Inside, pews creaked as the town's old names sat down. Brody, Vance, Hammond, white collars, heavy rings, polite voices. Dell stepped up front. Some of you know why we're here. Vance stood. Sheriff, this isn't your jurisdiction. Dell opened the ledger. This says otherwise. Whispers. Fake, Brody said. Janie stood beside him. That your initials? Brody's mouth opened. Closed. This ledger's dated back to 63, Dell said. Kept in the courthouse basement. Locked. Hidden. Where'd you get it? Vance snapped. Where you left it, Janie said. They didn't answer. Clara entered then. Barefoot. Dressed clean. Hair combed back. She walked down the aisle without looking at anyone. She stood at the front. My grandma's name's in here, she said. My mother's too. They didn't take your money. They took your threats. And they lived quiet because of it. But they told me. All of it, and I ain't scared of your silence." "Who is this girl?" someone whispered. "She's the one who found the governor," Janie said. "The one your ledger forgot." Clara stepped closer. "I remember what you made them forget." Dell watched the men shift. Their ties felt tighter, their rings heavier. "No more hiding," Janie said. Dell held up the book. "This goes to the paper Monday." "You publish that, you'll lose everything," Vance warned. Dell nodded. "Then I guess I'll be free." Clara's hum started low. The same tune, but this time in the church it didn't sound cursed. It sounded like warning. Afterward, they sat in Dell's truck. Quiet. "You think it worked?" Clara asked. Janie looked straight ahead. "We didn't come to win. We came to open the door." Dell turned the key. Engine growled. "Now what?" he asked. "We keep going," Janie said. Clara held the ledger in her lap like it still breathed. Her thumb brushed the spine. "There's more," she said. They all knew she was right. The diner was nearly empty. Ceiling fan turning slow. Booths lit soft by old bulbs. Brody and Vance were waiting when Dell walked in. Coffee cups already poured. Brody slid over. Vance didn't smile. Dell didn't sit. Brody nodded at the seat. "We won't take long." Dell stood. "Good." Vance leaned forward. "You're poking ghosts that don't want digging." Dell crossed his arms. "That a warning?" "That's fact," Brody said. "You put that ledger in the paper. You open old wounds." "They were never closed," Dell said. Brody pushed the sugar toward him. "What's it get you, huh? Sheriff badge don't shine brighter just 'cause you raise hell." "You think this is about the badge?" Vance kept his voice even. "Keep the bones buried, Hawkins, or we'll put you down with them." Dell stared at him. "That a threat?" "No," Vance said. "It's a favor." Dell turned, walked out, didn't look back. By the time he got to the station, the locks had been changed. Rome was waiting out front. "They suspended you," Rome said. Dell nodded. "They didn't even vote." "Don't need to. County charter gives them emergency power." Rome looked down. "You gonna fight it?" Dell didn't answer. Later that night, his tires were slashed. All four. Razor clean. Not kids. Not sloppy. He didn't call it in. Next morning, his sister's dog turned up on her porch. Stiff. No wounds. Just gone. Dell buried it himself. Didn't tell her why. Clara said nothing, just watched him dig. That evening, he came home to the smell of cedar. Clara sat on the floor of the hallway, polishing the baseboards with slow, steady strokes. Her hum was back, quiet but sharp. He leaned in the doorway. "You don't have to do that." "I want to." Dell rubbed his temples. "They're coming after me now." "They already did." "You afraid?" Clara paused. Number just of who they follow. Dell walked past her, poured a drink, sat at the kitchen table in the dark. She kept polishing. "You ever think about leaving?" he asked. "No." "Why not?" "They want me gone." "That's reason enough to stay." He nodded. "You sound like her." "I am her." That night, Dell sat in the living room. Couldn't sleep. The walls creaked louder now, like they were listening. Clara moved room to room, brushing oil on wood, always in threes. He watched her from the couch. "Why the walls?" "They hold more than people think." Next morning, his mailbox was gone. Post snapped clean. Note stuck to the stump. One word. "Quit." Janie called at noon. "You okay?" "No." "They're scared." "Good. You want help?" Dell looked out the window. "Stay clean. They'll come for you next." "Let them." He hung up. Clara came in from the yard, dirt on her feet. Hands scraped. "What were you doing?" he asked. "Clearing a place." "For what?" "You'll see." That night, he found her digging under the pecan tree. Hole wide, deep, nothing in it yet. "You burying something?" he asked. "No." "Then what?" "Making room." "For what?" "Memory." Dell stood silent. She kept digging. He sat on the porch with his rifle across his knees. Waited till morning. No one came. Just the hum of Clara's voice as she polished the banister. He looked at her. "You think this ends with me?" Clara didn't stop. "It ends when they stop pretending. And if they never do, then we keep polishing." The next day, his sister came by. Eyes wide, voice low. "They're saying you lost it," she said. "Saying you're letting that girl run your house." Dell nodded. "They're scared." "You got nothing left to lose." Dell smiled, barely. Nothing worth keeping quiet for. She left a casserole on the counter and didn't come back. That night, Clara set 3 candles by the window, lit each slow, sat beside them and hummed. Dell poured another drink. You believe in curses? I believe in inheritance. You think this is yours? Number, I think it was theirs. I just returned it. He nodded. You ready for what comes next? I already lived it. Rain hit the windows. The lights flickered once, held steady. Dell leaned back in his chair. I took an oath, he said. Clara looked at him. They broke it. I know. You still mean it? Dell stared into the dark. Now, more than ever. Outside, thunder rolled low. The candles didn't move. Clara's hum faded into silence. The banner over the courthouse read Founders Day in faded red paint. Kids ran circles around the pie table. The brass band warmed up by the flagpole. Tents rattled under a lazy breeze, and the smell of smoked pork hung thick over the square. Dell stood by the monument, arms crossed, eyes scanning the crowd. She's late, Janie said. She's not, Dell replied. The mayor clinked a fork against a glass. Thank y'all for coming. This year, we got a special treat. A song from our roots, a frontier wedding hymn performed by Miss Clara Wynne. Dell shifted. Janie watched the steps to the stage. Clara appeared from the side of the courthouse, barefoot, hair braided back, dressed plain linen white, like someone stitched it just for this. She carried no music, no microphone, just walked up to the small wooden platform and turned to face the crowd. Murmurs rose. That's the Wynne girl. Is she even part of the church? She don't have shoes. She lifted her chin. Silence fell. Then she sang. Blood in the basin, milk in the churn. Bride won't marry till the cradle burn. A few heads turned. String up the ribbon, cut through the pine. Groom won't show till the girl's gone blind. The band froze. Clarinet hung midair. Dell's jaw locked. Janie's face went pale. Ash on the altar, soot on the bed. No vows spoken till the hens turn red. People began to murmur again. Uneasy, Clara didn't stop. Dig up the cradle, toss in the shoe. Bride keeps singing till her song comes true. The crowd shifted. Older women blinked hard. Some whispered prayers. Others backed away like the air had soured. One woman clutched her chest. Another dropped her lemonade. A third walked off shaking her head, hands over her ears. Dell stepped forward. Janie grabbed his arm. Let her finish. She's poking a hornet's nest. She is the hornet's nest. Clara's voice climbed. Bride with no witness. Bride with no name. Churn still spinning. Groom never came. Silence. No applause. No movement. Just wind. Clara stepped down barefoot against the gravel and walked straight through the crowd. No expression. No shame. A young reporter from Channel 6 had the whole thing on tape. He didn't lower his camera once. Dell met Clara at the edge of the square. You planned that? She taught it to me, Clara said. Your grandma? Number the ones before her. Janie caught up. You know what that song is? Do they? Clara asked. Janie nodded. They do now. They walked to the truck in silence. The air behind them stayed thick. By nightfall, the footage had hit local news. Wynne girl resurrects band song at county celebration. Witch hymn or wedding rite? Old tune stirs memory. Dell's phone buzzed nonstop. Rome called twice. You see what they're saying? That girl just lit a fuse. Dell didn't respond. At the house, Clara sat on the steps, brushing the dirt off her feet. The hum had changed. Slower now. Like a lullaby. Dell sat beside her. Where'd you learn that? She used to hum it while she worked, said it was passed down from women who never got a ceremony. You knew what it'd do. Clara nodded. That song's tied to the massacre, isn't it? She looked at him. The one they buried under the mill. 18 girls, pregnant, alone. They said it was an accident. They lied. Dell stared out at the trees. They'll come after you. They already did. You're pushing something they don't want touched. Good, Clara said. Let them feel it. Janie came inside with a paper. 4 women came by the clinic today. Said they knew that song. Said their grandmothers hummed it. Dell took the paper. What's that? List of names. The original witnesses. We've got one still alive. Who? Edna Till, 94, living at Rose Hollow, nursing. Clara stood. Take me. Dell hesitated. Tomorrow. Number now. He looked at Janie. She nodded. They drove out under low clouds. No one spoke. The tires hummed against the road like background noise to something old. Rose Hollow sat on a hill, white paint peeling, windows dim. The nurse on duty blinked when Clara asked for Edna. "She don't talk." "She will," Clara said. They followed the nurse down the corridor. Room 12. Door open. Inside, a woman sat in a chair by the window, blanket over her knees, eyes glazed. Clara stepped in. Quiet. "Miss Edna," she said. "Nothing." "I sang your song." The old woman blinked once. Clara took her hand. "At Founder's Day." "Just like they used to." Edna's lips moved, barely. Clara leaned in. "You remember the cradle." A breath, a whisper. "Blood in the basin." Clara nodded. "Milk in the churn." Janie's hand went to her mouth. Dell backed away like the floor shifted under him. The old woman squeezed Clara's hand once, tight. Then her eyes closed. Clara stood. "They remember." Janie stepped outside, cried for a minute, came back calm. Dell drove home with the windows cracked. No one spoke. At the house, Clara lit 3 candles. Dell sat by the door, rifle in his lap. "You scared?" "No," Clara said, "and they are. They'll say it's a lie." "Let them. They'll call it superstition. It's survival." He watched the flame dance in the glass. "What happens now?" Clara looked him dead in the eye. "We sing louder." And outside, for just a second, the wind sang it back. Dell kept his flashlight low as he jimmied the side lock on the church. The screws gave easy. Janie held the door, breath fogging in the cold. They stepped inside quiet. No alarms. Just that old wood smell. "Basement access is through the pulpit," Janie whispered. "You sure?" "My uncle said the preacher used to hide moonshine down there. Same hatch. He never opened it once after 67. Dell clicked the light up the aisle. The pews watched like ghosts. They reached the altar. Janie moved the rug, bent low. Here, a small iron ring embedded in the floorboards. Dell grabbed it, pulled. It groaned like it hadn't moved in decades. The hatch opened to stairs carved into stone. They went down. The air shifted. Cold. Damp. It smelled like wet limestone and something older. Dell swept the light. The walls narrowed, then opened into a low crypt, earthen carved by hand. "Jesus," he said. Grave markers lined the dirt walls. Not wood, not stone. Just flat slates with carved symbols. No names, no dates, no crosses. Janie stepped closer. "That's a milk churn." Dell nodded. "And that one looks like a pair of shears." "There's 30, at least." They walked the length of the room. "Some of these are fresh," Janie whispered. Dell crouched, pulled a clump of moss off a slate. It flaked. Beneath it, more carving. Faint. "What is it?" He rubbed it gently. "Looks like a cradle." Janie knelt beside him. That ledger wasn't just payments. It was a death roll. Dell stared at the soil floor. "How many?" he asked. A voice came from behind them. 32. They turned fast. Clara stood at the bottom of the steps, holding a jar of polish in one hand, the bone-handled brush in the other. "My grandma knew each one," she said. Dell backed up a step. "You followed us?" "She told me where to go." Clara walked into the room. Calm. She looked around like it was a museum. "This is where they put them," she said. "The ones who didn't take the money, or the ones who did but talked anyway." Janie's hand trembled. "This isn't a graveyard. It's a hiding place." Clara nodded. "Same thing, if no one ever comes looking." Dell moved to a corner. The light hit something pale. He brushed back dirt. Bone. Small. Maybe a wrist. His stomach turned. He dropped the light. Turned. Vomited into the shadows. Janie closed her eyes. "I'm sorry," she said. To the room, to the air, to the ground. Clara crouched beside a patch of old floorboards. Dipped her cloth in oil. "What are you doing?" Dell asked, wiping his mouth. "She asked me to clean it," Clara said. "This place? This floor? You can't clean this." Clara looked at him. She said polish brings the memory up. Janie walked past him, voice tight. "We have to document this." "No one will believe it," Dell said. "We'll make them." He looked at her. "They buried a governor. They'll bury this too." "Not if it's loud," Janie said. "Not if it's seen." Clara kept working. She said not to cry. "Just keep your hands moving. The grief's in the wood now." Dell leaned against the wall. 32. Janie paced the edge of the room. "We take pictures. Get samples. We go to the paper again, this time with more than ink. Clara stood. They'll say it's a root cellar. They'll say it's fake. They won't get the chance, Janie said. Del shook his head. You don't know what they're willing to do. Clara looked at him. You still afraid? I'm still human. She set the brush down. So were they. They stood in silence. The crypt didn't echo. It swallowed sound. Janie took out her phone, snapped photos of every marker. No flash, just steady shots. Clara hummed low under her breath. The wedding song. Slower now, like a funeral dirge. Del crouched beside one of the stones, ran his fingers over it. This one's cracked, he said. Clara didn't look up. She fought. You know who she was? No name, just memory. He looked up at her. That enough for you? It's everything. Janie touched the wall. You think the church knew? Del nodded. Brody was pastor before he was judge. Clara wiped her hands on the cloth. Then he buried them twice. They climbed out slow. Del sealed the hatch, replaced the rug, locked the front door. Outside, the wind had picked up. Janie looked back once. Feels colder now. Clara didn't speak. They got into Del's truck. The engine rattled. Tires crunched gravel. Nobody spoke on the ride back. At the house, Clara went straight to the floor, sat with the brush. You gonna polish again? Del asked. Clara nodded. They deserve it. He sat down nearby, watched her hands. You really believe that brings them peace? No, she said. It brings them back. Del closed his eyes. That what you want? It's what they want. Janie sat on the porch, lit a cigarette with shaking hands. We go to the press tomorrow, she said. Not tomorrow, Clara said. Tomorrow's Sunday. They'll all be in church. Del looked at her. You want to crash service? He asked. I want to bring them home. The wind moved the trees. The candles in the window didn't flicker. Inside, the floor creaked softly under Clara's hand, as if something below had stirred. The chimney was still standing. Everything else had collapsed into a soft black heap. Nails rusted into curls, one window frame half buried under ash. Del parked down by the fence and walked the rest of the way up. Clara was already there, sitting on a cracked porch stone with her arms wrapped around her knees. He didn't say anything at first, just sat down beside her. Wind moved through the tall grass like it knew what happened there. Clara pointed at the charred wood. It didn't burn all the way. I remember the call, Del said. Back then, they said the house caught from the stove. Clara shook her head. Stove wasn't lit. Del glanced at her. What happened? She lit it herself. My mama. He leaned in. The wood polisher? Number my mother. My grandma helped her plan it. He stayed quiet. She was 17, pregnant. Governor had already come around twice. Del clenched his jaw. Jesus. Clara stared at the dirt. She didn't want to leave me, but he said if she kept the baby, he'd bury her under the porch. And she believed him? He didn't bluff. Del leaned forward. So your grandma set the fire? They set it together. Middle of the night. Took only what they could carry. Poured kerosene on the back wall. Left the front wide open so it'd look like someone ran. Del looked at the remains. Then where'd she go? North. Changed her name. Had me up there. But word travels fast in places like this. And he followed. Clara nodded. 2 years later. Your grandma let him. She didn't know at first. He came under another name. Said he was just a landman checking title lines. Del stood, walked a few paces into the ruin. What happened when she found out? She waited. She polished the table every night like nothing was wrong. Then one day, she sent me into town for sugar. Told me not to come back till sundown. Del turned around. And when I got back, he was gone. His truck, too. House smelled like cedar and smoke. Del knelt beside a scorched beam. That's the day he disappeared. Clara nodded. She never said a word about it? Just one thing. What? He made her choose, him or the house. Del's voice was low. And she chose the house. Clara looked up. Number she chose me. Silence settled between them. Wind kicked up dust in small circles. Del ran a hand through his hair. I thought I knew what happened back then. Thought the wind place just went up one stormy night. Some freak accident. You were just a deputy, Clara said. I was still supposed to see it. Clara touched the ground. Some fires don't catch. You can plan them perfect, pour fuel, light the match. And still, the house stays standing. He looked at her. She wanted it gone. But the house didn't go. It stayed. held the smell, held the bones. Dell rubbed his face. Where's your mom now? Dead. 3 counties over. Stroke last spring. You go to the funeral? She told me not to. Dell looked at her. Why? She said she wanted to rest, not remember. They sat quiet again. The ruins spoke louder than words. Clara picked up a charred piece of molding, held it like something sacred. She polished this every day. Why? She said if the wood stayed clean, the house stayed quiet. You think that worked? No. Dell stood. You ever think about rebuilding? Some things are supposed to rot. He nodded, walked back toward the chimney. She told me another thing once, Clara said. Dell stopped. She said the governor wasn't the only one who knew what went on here. She said men came by to drink, to visit, to take their cut. Dell turned. You think they're still alive? Clara's voice didn't shake. I know they are. He crossed his arms. Why tell me all this now? Because you're the last one who's still listening. Dell walked back over, sat down again. You think she killed him? He asked. Clara stared at the ashes. I think she buried something heavier than a man. Dell nodded once. That ledger, those graves under the church, all of this, it goes deeper than I thought. She tried to warn you. I didn't want to see it. Clara looked up. Now you do. He sighed. Yeah, now I do. She set the molding down gently. You gonna dig deeper? I have to. Clara stood. Then I'll help. Dell followed her gaze to the well out back, half covered by vines. You think he's still out there? No, she said. He's right here. Dell turned back to the ruins. She was right. Some ghosts don't haunt. They sit. They wait. They rot into the ground and grow roots. The fire didn't take, but something else did. And now it was rising. The Capitol building wasn't big, but it was clean. Fluorescent lights, cold floors, windows that didn't open. Dell waited outside the hearing room, arms crossed, jaw tight. Clara sat beside him. Her hair was braided down her back. No polished brush, no oil, just her and the truth. You ready? Dell asked. Clara nodded. You nervous? No. You should be. She looked up. I already lived it. The door opened. A young aide motioned them in. Clara stepped through first. Inside, 6 people sat at a long table. Middle seat held a woman in a dark suit, eyes sharp, voice calm. Miss Wynne, she said. I'm Special Prosecutor Jeline Ford. Clara sat. You understand why you're here? Yes. You understand what perjury is? Yes. You willing to testify under oath about what you saw, heard, and experienced regarding the Wynne property and the disappearance of Governor Earl Mathers? I am. The recorder clicked on. State your name. Clara Wynne. Date of birth? May 6th. Do you know who Earl Mathers was? I do. How? He came to my family's land when I was a baby. My mother ran from him. My grandmother made sure he didn't follow. Are you claiming she killed him? I'm claiming he came to kill us. And she stopped him. The room stilled. Did you see this happen? No. Then how do you know? She told me. In the way she polished the floor. In the way she sang. In the way she never locked the front door, but always bolted the back. One of the panel men cleared his throat. That's not evidence. It is where I'm from. Ford leaned in. What happened to your mother? She left. Changed her name. I didn't meet her again until I was 10. And she confirmed what your grandmother said? She confirmed enough. Did your grandmother ever say she buried the governor? But I found the bones. Another voice, low and smug, came from the back. She also claims to hear ghosts. Should we take that into account? Dell turned. Brody sat in the second row. Vance beside him. Press badges on their lapels like that made them clean. Clara didn't flinch. I never said I heard ghosts. I said the walls, remember? Ford looked at Brody. You'll have your turn. Brody raised his hands, just helping the record reflect her mental state. Clara smiled. You nervous, Judge? He didn't respond. Ford continued. You testified earlier about a ledger. Yes, Janie found it, my doctor, in the courthouse basement. And it listed payments made to your family? Yes. For silence? For survival. Are you aware that ledger has now been reported missing? Clara nodded. Doesn't surprise me. Do you have a copy? I memorized every name. Ford tilted her head. You expect us to believe you recall over 70 names from a handwritten book? Not names, Clara said. I remember the symbols. Excuse me. There were marks next to each entry. A churn, a cradle, a flame. Same marks I found on graves under the church. The panel murmured. Ford tapped her pen. You claim there is a mass grave under the church? I don't claim it. I walked in it. The door opened. Janie stepped in. I can confirm that, she said. The room turned. Ford stood. And you are? Dr. Janie Culver. I accompanied Clara. I saw the graveyard. I saw the markers. I saw the bones. Brody stood. This is a show trial now? Janie stared at him. You scared Judge? Another voice spoke. Shaky. Her story is mine. An older woman in a pale coat stood near the door. Dell recognized her. Mrs. Avery. Used to teach Sunday school. Another woman stood. And mine. Then a third. And mine. Ford held up her hand. Ladies, please. They paid me off in '84, one said. They told me if I spoke, I'd never work again, said another. Janie stepped forward. They all knew. Every man sitting in this room who held a gavel, a gun, or a title, they knew. And they did nothing. Ford looked down the line. The panel was dead quiet. Clara rose. I ain't crazy. I just remember too well. Brody scoffed. This isn't testimony. It's theater. Clara turned to him. Then why are you sweating? Ford banged the gavel once. That's enough. The hearing is adjourned for today. We'll reconvene with formal charges pending review. Dell took Clara's arm, led her out. Janie followed. The hallway buzzed. Outside, reporters swarmed. Miss Wynne, do you have comment? Is it true the ledger's gone? Were you coached? Clara kept walking. A breeze picked up. Dell opened the truck door for her. She paused. Was that enough? She asked. Dell nodded. It's a start. Janie slid into the back seat. It's more than they ever expected. Clara looked toward the courthouse. Windows dark, shadows moving behind the glass. They'll bury it again if we let them, she said. Then we don't let them, Dell said. Clara smiled, small. You still believe in law? No, he said. But I believe in you. She looked ahead. Good. I'm not done yet. They drove off. The wind followed. The wind was quiet again. No buzzards, no hum. Just wind low in the trees and the crunch of gravel under Dell's boots. Clara was already out back, squatting near the stump of the old pecan tree. A pile of river stones sat beside her. She didn't look up when he came near. What's that? He asked. A cairn. For who? For her. Dell stepped closer. She was placing the stones carefully, flat ones, clean ones, each one pressed down like a promise. You find the brush? He asked. Clara nodded. It sat beside her on a folded cloth. Bone handle dulled, bristles darkened from years of oil and memory. She held it like a relic. You burying it? She told me to. Dell crouched beside her. She say why? She said it held too much. Clara dug the hole with her hands. The dirt was soft. When it was deep enough, she placed the brush in, then covered it slow, layer by layer. When the last stone went on, she exhaled like she'd been holding it in since birth. The oil bottle still sat on the cloth. She didn't bury that. You keeping that? Dell asked. She said I could. Why? She said the oil's just memory. The brush was the burden. Dell looked around. What now? Clara stood, wiped her palms on her dress. Now I build. She walked over to a stack of lumber she'd hauled up herself. Untreated planks, rough cut, still smelling of sap. A saw rested on top. Sandpaper rolled up beside it. She sat down, pulled the sandpaper out, and began working the edge of the first. Bored with steady strokes, Dell leaned on a post. Starting over, Clara didn't pause. Starting true. He watched her a moment, then walked over, grabbed another board, and sat beside her. You got a plan for this? It's a bench. For sitting? For remembering. They worked in silence. Wood dust curled in the breeze. The sun dipped lower behind the trees. Every once in a while, Clara reached for the oil and rubbed a drop into the grain with her fingers. Not too much. Just enough. Dell glanced at her hands. You miss her? Clara didn't look up. Every minute. You think she's gone for good now? She's where she belongs. Dell nodded. That good enough for you? No, she said. But it's what we've got. They kept sanding. The board smoothed out, the corners rounded. Clara wiped each piece down with the same cloth she used to polish the floor. Quiet, slow, like ritual. When the frame was done, they sat on it. No legs yet, just a plank resting across two stones. Wind moved through the grass. Dell lit a cigarette. "You hear that?" Clara closed her eyes. A sound in the distance, faint, software. The old wedding song, but slower, warmer, like it wasn't morning anymore. Dell exhaled. "She's still singing." Clara nodded. "Not to warn us, just to remember." They sat together as the sun dipped behind the hills. No danger in the air, no tension in the silence, only memory, and wood, and breath, and the oil. Clara stood by the well at dusk, barefoot, clean, hair braided tight, no brush in her hand, no oil in her pocket, just herself and the hole that swallowed everything. The wind was still. Trees didn't move. The house behind her held its breath. Dell watched from the porch. No badge on his chest, no gun at his side, just a man who stayed. She stepped closer to the stones. The well was dry now, rope long gone, nothing but black below. But it didn't feel empty. It never had. She closed her eyes, took a breath. Then she sang. Bride is standing, barefoot true, fire behind her, sky in view. Her voice was soft, steady, not haunted, not vengeful, just clear. Dell didn't move. Hands unbroken, name unclaimed, ashes resting, none to blame. The words weren't the same, not the cursed verse from Founder's Day. This one was hers. Cradle buried, tune made new, bride keeps singing, just for who? The well echoed once, low, hollow, then fell silent. Clara stood there a moment longer, then she sat down beside it, cross-legged, like a child again. Dell walked out to her, boots slow in the grass. He stopped a few feet away. "You done?" he asked. She looked up. "Not with everything, but with that, yeah." He nodded. She reached into her pocket, pulled out a small cedar carving, set it on the well's edge. A shape of a girl standing with arms wide, no face, no feet. "What's that?" "Her," Clara said. "All of them." Dell crouched beside her. "You think they heard you?" "I think they've been waiting." He looked at the well. "What for?" "A bride who didn't burn." Silence. Then Clara stood, brushed the dirt from her legs. Dell stayed crouched. "That song, you make it up. Parts of it. You gonna teach it?" "Maybe. To the right ones." He looked up at her. "You feel different?" She smiled. "I feel like myself." He nodded. "Good." She turned back to the house. "I'm gonna finish the bench tomorrow." "I'll help." She started walking. Dell stayed 1 second longer, looked down the mouth of the well. Nothing looked back. Then he followed. The air behind them stayed still. The stones stayed cool. The song hung in the leaves just long enough to be remembered, and then, gently, it was gone.